Welcome to Trillium Healing Arts Peercast. I'm Julia Wolf, energy healer and transformative life coach. In these episodes, I sit down with members of the greater healing community to talk about ways to facilitate our growth, evolve into our true selves, and manifest our dreams. Here, we dive into the art of healing. I have the pleasure of having Tami Mensh here with me today in her beautiful home at Dewey Beach, Delaware, and I am so excited about this opportunity to talk about transformative life coaching and how it has affected our lives and how we use coaching to help others as they walk on their life path. Tami, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me into this conversation, Julia. I love when we get together and we co-create and we collaborate, and so I'm so excited to be sharing this time with you today.
I love the word co-create, and I have never worked with one of my clients where I haven't learned something about myself. And I think we'll get into that a little later about how hard and how important it is to keep ourselves out of our client's journey. And that is one of the big things I learned most out of the life coaching program was exactly that skill. So Tami, I often have people ask me, who are your clients? Who needs or wants life coaching? Do you have a good way of telling the audience, like what is the difference between psychotherapy and life coaching, and who might want to see a life coach?
Yeah, that's a good question. Therapy is more about going into the past and about trying to fix or heal the client, trying to tell them what they need or to prescribe something as the one who knows these things. And coaching is more about the relationship between the coach and the client, where the client is seen as the expert, and the coach helps them to get into their own inner knowing. There are more ways of knowing for themselves. We don't believe that we know the answers for you. You, Julia, have lived with Julia your whole life. You know what's best for Julia. And so coaching helps to ask thought-provoking questions and creative questions, and for personal and professional development. And I would even take out the word life from coaching, because you can't separate business from relationships, from everything, from life. And I even think the word coaching is too small. A lot of coaches don't love that word, and there are a lot of different people that call themselves coaches because it's an unregulated industry, but they're not really doing coaching. They're doing consulting or psychotherapy or mentoring. And so coaching is really about partnering. It's being a thought partner with your client, and helping them to see the water that they're swimming in, and to grow. Many people that come for coaching, they may think that they're coming to get a better job or something like that. And a lot of people come when they're in times of transition, when things are difficult and they need someone to talk to, when they're looking for purpose or meaning in their lives. When they're need to make a big decision, and to find patterns of behavior that might be, like you said, having them get in their way or having them become stuck in their lives. Yeah.
It's a word we use a lot. Yeah. I use the word curiosity all the time. And I think that's one of the things we as coaches is curious.
Yeah. And when we stay curious, it allows the other person to continue to evolve, continue to grow. We believe that our clients are creative, resourceful, and whole, that they do not need to be fixed. And one of my favorite quotes from Alan Watts is, "You are under no obligation to be who you were 5 minutes ago." And I really keep that in mind with coaching, because being curious allows that person to continue to change. I'm not thinking that that's just who they are and they're stuck in that one mindset, but what's emerging now in this moment? Let's get curious about what's wanting to come through, what's wanting to be alive right now in this moment.
Do you mind telling the audience just a little bit about you and the Kaleidescope Lounge and your journey?
Yeah. I have many acts to my life that I feel like all create a real kaleidoscope of experience. And I have been involved in entrepreneurship, marketing, fitness. I got my master's at Sofia in transpersonal psychology, which was really a lifelong dream of mine that I had that I didn't know was my dream for many years. I graduated from the University of Maryland undecided. I couldn't declare a major because nothing felt right to me. And finally, when I learned about transpersonal psychology, I said, this is time for me to declare my major.
That is so beautiful. That is my story as well. I came late to transpersonal work. Continuing on about you and Sofia University, you're currently heading the Department of Transpersonal Psychology?
In the coaching department,
Okay.
Transformative life and leadership coaching. And when I was a student there, we had a choice of 3 different concentrations as a master's of transpersonal psychology student that we could choose. One was spirituality, one was creativity, and the third was life coaching. And all of the students there have such a hard time choosing because we want to do it all. All of it sounds so juicy that we want to do everything. But okay, alas, we have to choose one. And I was having a really difficult time deciding, but I ended up choosing coaching because I wanted to become a better listener.
Oh, beautiful.
And I thought that it would help me in my relationships, in my relationship to others, to myself, and that I would be able to really have a practical application of my transpersonal psychology and really be able to help other people in amazing ways and grow at the same time myself.
And I have a parallel experience. And this work is beautiful, and active listening is so important. And I had been meditating for many years prior to taking this coursework, and I was a physical therapist. And as a physical therapist, I had to train my listening skills to hone in on the physical problem. I had to think about outcomes in a way that insurance providers would cover the services. And even though I knew and know that we are far more complicated than any one facet of our lives, it is what I had to do in order to run my practice. So learning how to listen without expectation, without looking at outcomes, without focusing on any one aspect, it's quite a skill. It really is a skill. And Sofia does a great job. Your program is amazing.
As you're talking about listening, and it reminds me of when I realized that this work was really becoming embodied in me, was my son. I have an adult son, and at the time he was 23. and he was struggling and not working, and generally not motivated, and was laying around all day. And as a mother, it was really frustrating for me, and I wasn't sure. I didn't know what would be best for him. So we were having a lot of conflict, a lot of back and forth arguments. I was thinking, do I need to have some tough love and kick him out of the house so that he can, stand on his own 2 feet? And so there was a lot of tension between us. And one Saturday afternoon, I walked downstairs into the basement, and he was laying on the sofa watching TV and playing video games. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon, the dark basement. And I grabbed the remote and I turned the television off. And I was so tempted to say, get the F out of my house. That was like what I was going on in my body. I had hit my last straw. And I took a deep breath. And I walked over to the sofa and I sat down next to him. And I said, this is hard for us, isn't it? And he said, yeah, Mom, it's hard. He said, but we'll be okay. I said, what do we need to do now? What do we need for us to get through this? And I have to really credit all of my coaching and my education on me being able to take that moment, that breath, that beat, and to sit side by side and have a conversation that was about seeing and feeling and being together, rather than giving advice or yelling or fixing. And that's really where I knew that coaching was life-changing.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that story, Tami. Can you share with me and the audience the difference between transformational and transpersonal?
Yeah, that's and I'll add one more, which is just coaching, which is considered sometimes to be transactional.
Right.
So we have transactional coaching, transformative coaching, and transpersonal coaching. And I would say that transactional coaching is probably the kind of coaching that most people have been exposed to. That might be performance coaching, or a lot of goal setting and accountability, and just dealing with a lot of content rather than the context of the person, their experiences, what their values are, what they're bringing into the conversation. So transformative coaching is about the process of change, and making changes that are lasting and that change you and your way of being, so that there's no going back, right?
Like the butterfly.
Like the butterfly. And then when the transpersonal, and I know that some people may not be familiar with the word transpersonal, it means beyond the person. So it's part of the humanistic branch of coaching, but it goes beyond the person into our farthest reaches of our human potential. So it's about potential rather than pathology, like therapy might be. And so the potential can be to grow into a higher consciousness, into to making sense of peak experiences, to really expand our capacity as humans and go on into the realms of dream, intuition, movement, plant and animal communication, all of these things that are lenses and ways that we can move through the world beyond our 5 senses. And so in transpersonal coaching, We might coach clients that have had a peak experience or an experience that was considered transpersonal or an altered state of consciousness or something that was out of the norm. And we may coach in a way that includes those transpersonal aspects of ourselves, using creativity and movement and dreams and ways to integrate those experiences. So I believe that transpersonal coaching is about a way of not just being, but becoming, and that it shows us where we are sitting down to have a coaching conversation, but it's more in the coming together of two humans in that beautiful liminal space that is safe and that is non-judgmental. It's I'm changing and learning and experiencing just as much as the other person, and we may not know where we're going, but we know how to get there. And so we're using our intuition and really discovering our interconnectedness, and it expands to the wider ecosystem of when I sit down with you, I'm also bringing my experience, I'm bringing my family, I'm bringing the people that I work with, I'm bringing my community, I'm bringing the world with me. So realizing that that this conversation has a ripple effect that reaches all of our ecosystem and beyond.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there. I've spoken about the ego a lot lately. I've just come out of a transformative retreat and had conversation with the retreaters about the ego and what the ego is. And my explanation was our ego is how we define ourselves in relationship to the world. Our ego tells us our stories of who we are. And our ego often has multiple stories it tells. There's the story it tells when it's feeling like the little kid, and there's the story it tells when it's at work, and there's the story it tells when it's at the cocktail party. And I think what you're describing is this, Bill Plotkin talks about the three-dimensional ego. It sounds to me like what you're describing is the ego which has become large enough that it has incorporated more of our soul, more of spirit, and more of our life experience through the people we meet along the way and our experiences. And then it was a little confusing trying to explain it this way, because some people think of, well, if you have a big ego, it means you're hung up on yourself. Well, that's not what I'm talking about, because the ego is not the evil stepchild. Our ego is who we are, and the larger our ego gets, the more the rest of the world is incorporated within it. So I just love your description of transpersonal. Did I get that right?
Yeah, I do think that ego has been conflated with the being stuck on yourself or being high on yourself or needing to show up in a certain way. But what you're pointing to are the different subpersonalities that the ego does include, and that the ego is a lot of times trying to keep us safe.
Absolutely.
Right? And so the ego has a job to do, and a lot of times it's helpful. But there is another self too, that we talk about this in our class, and we did, about who's driving the bus.
Exactly.
Right? And so as long as you can get in touch with that self beyond the ego, then you can call in the higher qualities of compassion and love and all of those higher level qualities.
Yeah. We mentioned earlier about how working with our clients is a learning experience for us too. And what I have discovered is when I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm becoming curious about some facets of their concerns and some of their responses, I notice once in a while that I get triggered. And what I mean by triggered is, it's like, oh, I know the answer to that. Or I get triggered to, oh, yeah, I've been there, I know how that feels. Or any kind of trigger such as this. It's a moment for me to take note. It's a self-awareness. It's like, this just made me feel fear as well. And I have to set it aside so I can be this empty vessel, so I can not get into their life. But later I can look at that and say, when my client said that she grew up being told not to think that way, why did that take my breath away? Because I'm still struggling with that part of my past too. I've got some work to do.
Exactly. It's it says more about you when you're in your reaction than it does about your client. Like, it's funny when if someone says to you, for example, I love your beautiful red hair, or something like that. And then really it's saying that person likes red hair.
That's true.
And so I love your example about, being triggered and how that's pointing to more about you and what you're learning about yourself in the moment. And so as coaches, we'll know that, we'll catch it and we'll release it.
Exactly.
And that's a great skill to be able to have.
Look at it later. Yeah.
Look at it later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of brings me to, on your website, you talk about your code of ethics is based on Brené Brown's Anatomy of Trust. And I recommend anybody listening to this to go online and find her talk on the Anatomy of Trust. It's beautiful. But she has 7 different components of trust. But what is so interesting to me in the definition, in her definition, is how it is reciprocal. And reciprocity is so important. For me to listen to you without judgment, to be non-judgmental, I can only do that if I can learn to be non-judgmental about myself. And I, being a divorced woman, because of my family and some of my experiences in society, I placed a judgment or a value on being a divorced person. And if I'm looking at myself as a failure, how am I looking at a client who comes in with concerns of either wanting to go through a divorce or have just been through a divorce?
Right.
And it's that reciprocity is so important. But Brené Brown's talk is just it's lovely. Maybe you can talk more about that. I mean, you've chosen to talk about it on your website.
The trust is such a big competency of coaching. I was just telling my students yesterday that as long as we can create a container of trust with our client, that is most of the work right there. And trust is created by reflecting what you see and listening deeply and being present and acknowledging, the client. And so as long as we can create that the client can really be seen and heard, that is such a gift. And what I find is, as we're the client will show up with a coaching issue, right?
Yeah.
And what we get to is it's never about the issue that they come and they're presenting, but through the conversation, as their higher self is is revealed, and more of the safety of holding on, that protection of the ego begins to fall away, they find the answers within themselves, and they'll feel a sense of acceptance about what's happening. The resistance resolves, the things that they were pushing against resolves, and not that there isn't a solution necessarily to the presenting issue, but in that container of safety and trust, they are able to find that a way to be okay with it, to accept it, to feel compassion for themselves in the way that they felt over it. And then the problem, quote, kind of dissolves.
Yeah, it's an acceptance of what is.
Yes.
And, understanding our own agency in what is.
I will add, once that acceptance, because we're talking about outcome, once that acceptance and compassion is cultivated and kindled, that the client knows what they need to do. That it comes to them, and there's a knowing of what needs to happen next. There's nothing that I need to say. There's nothing we need to figure out. That it's like, wow, now that I feel this, now I know this is what I need to do, or nothing.
Not to do.
Not to do. Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes it's a matter of the ability for the client to see a larger perspective. And so therefore, what they believed was the possibility, that lens opens up, and they can see that there's more than one possible outcome that can be good, appropriate,
Right.
meeting their goal.
Right.
Yeah. That makes me think of your vivid vision. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my coaching platform is called Kaleidescope Lounge and Coaching, and I chose that because I really believe that life is like a kaleidoscope, and when we all come together with our colors and our different ways, our different facets of being, that we make this beautiful, vivid kaleidoscope. And so I work with groups on wild woman moon circles and way of counsel practice and workshops. And one of my my top, people's favorite things are my vivid vision workshops. And what that does is we time travel 3 years into the future to see what's possible. Where might we be? And we use collage and a lot of different creativity and a lot of different prompts and mind mapping and all different modalities to come at it in different ways, so that new things and new possibilities bubble up to the surface. It's amazing to see what comes out of this process, and people are always like, wow, I knew I wanted something, but I wasn't sure what it was. And it really brings it into this vivid, colorful image, that a snapshot that you can hold on to. And then we write it into a document in as much vivid detail as possible, so that it can begin to manifest and these things show up, and then you can show it to stakeholders, or to people that you want to become in business with, or people that might be sparked and inspired by what you're doing, and they're like, I want to be a part of this. Because if you're having all of these visions and these ideas and these things that you want to do, but you don't share it with anyone, then nobody can help you. It stays inside, and so we put it out there in a document, and that we put on your website. You can find mine on my website for the Kaleidescope Lounge. And it's childlike, beautiful, expansive thinking. What can we grow into? What is possible? And it's amazing to see what actually comes to fruition once it's created and put out there into the world.
That's very exciting. Maybe I'll participate in one of your Vivid Vision workshops coming up.
Yeah, that would be great.
There is something that I work with clients, which I was thinking was similar, but it's actually a good bit different. And I find that very often working with my clients, they are so attached to their goal. And their goal is very specific. And they can't get to it. And they don't know why they can't get to it. And so I work with them in a way that I take them. My time travel goes 5 years. It's like, so I take them on a journey 5 years ahead. And you have manifested, all of your dream. You're here. You're happy. Your life is where you want it. Without necessarily the specifics, like if it's all about having to have a job, maybe you're in that job or not, but you are, instead of saying, I am a life coach, it's like, I am in a career which nourishes my soul. And then you go to that person 5 years, the one who is nourished by her career, that's living where she wants to live. And you go and you talk with her and say, how did you get here? It can be very powerful, And I've had some clients who have discovered that, it's not that I have to buy a house in order to feel safe and secure and in a great place to raise my family. It's not the house. It's the way of being. It's the way of life that I'm looking for, that I superimposed a house on top of.
Right. One of my best friends, he's like, I wanted to be a great country singer. I love singing country. And meanwhile, he's singing country songs while we're at the bar or at the party. I'm like, do you know that you're singing country right now? We don't realize that sometimes we're already doing it and we don't think that we are. And I love what you said about, that if people get really caught up on the how. And once you know the why and the what, the how falls into place.
Exactly.
There's a great quote, how do you eat an elephant? Right? One bite at a time, And so, as long as you know what it is and that there's an emotion and a passion about that, that activates the vision.
And there are many ways to get there.
Yes.
And we might just be looking at deep frying the poor elephant, right? When, I could make a salad out of the elephant.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Tami. This has been a lovely conversation. Yes. You have a beautiful home here in Dewey Beach, Delaware. And I'd like to ask you at the moment if you could like to share your how people can get a hold of you on your website.
Sure. First, I'll say that I'm on the faculty of the Sofia University Transformative and Life and Leadership Coaching Program, and it's a wonderful master's degree program as well as certificate program. And this is where you learn coaching through a transpersonal lens. And so there's a lot of growing and a lot of personal transformation in the process. And Julia, you and I talked a lot of ways about how we can take that out into the world, as well. And I also have, I'm also a coach, and I do coaching and workshops and lead a retreat in the Riviera Maya, Mexico, every January with a colleague, a yoga instructor colleague. Nice. And so coaching, workshops, Vivid Vision. You can find me at TamiMensh.com. Yeah, it's super simple.
Super simple. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks for this, Julia. I appreciate it. It's great talking to you.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. If you want more information about this episode, visit us on the web at theyurt@trillium.com and click on the Peercast tab. A special thanks to Steve Devoni for the production of this Peercast. Thank you for joining me, and may our paths cross again.